Cody, what's going on, brother?
Good, right? Good.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, lad.
I think we pretty much did the whole podcast on the carpool.
Nice spot, man.
You like it? Yeah.
I like
Put
it.
some effort
I'm
into
not
it.
sure about that trophy up there, but
Why? What's wrong with it?
well, it's got your name on it.
It does have. Oh, we just started. You want to come at me now? You want to come at me now?
I'm sorry.
All right. What's been happening, mate? You obviously you're 36, 35 now?
Come on, man.
35. You're 35.
Come on, man.
So how's the body
30,
going?
35. Yeah, it's in a good spot at the moment. Obviously, haven't been too great in terms of just little niggle injuries, throughout the year, and hopefully this is the end of it. Hopefully be back this week and finish the year strong.
Can you put those soft tissue injuries down to anything like?
Yeah.
Overload?
No, look, I think it's just luck in the end, right? Like some of the I don't know, they're quite minor, and sometimes you can I feel you can play through them, but then they lead to more serious injuries. But yeah, I'm not sure. We can't really put a finger on it at the moment, but the medical staff have been outstanding for me over the last 6 to 8 months, and just trying to get my body right to to finish the rest of the season. And I think we're in a good spot at the moment. And unfortunately, at the back end of last year, I didn't get a full pre-season. I had surgery on my knee at the back end of the year, so
important pre-season.
So it wasn't. I'm one of them guys that really thrive under a really good pre-season.
Have you always been like that?
Yeah. Well, not early on, but once I started to play regular first grade, I just made sure I was fit enough to keep that, I suppose, that base to start pre-season, and then go after it after that. So, and to be fair, for majority of my career, I've been injury free, and I've played majority of the years, which has been good. It's just a little bit frustrating at the moment that I'm just having these little niggles here and there. So hopefully I'm at the end of that, and then I can finish the rest of the season on a high.
Are you back this week? Next week?
Yeah, back this week. Looking forward to it. Coming up against the Dolphins, who are on fire at the moment. They're going through a bit of injury crisis, like similar to us. So, but yeah, I think the way that Isaiah Katoa is playing at the moment, he's quite admirable.
Especially coming from other half.
Yeah, he's awesome to watch. His deception's quite, looking in to play out, all those little things that, halves, I suppose everyone takes for granted, but halves sort of know the how important it is. So
I was going to ask you that later in the show, but we're already here. How important it is for halves to adapt. I feel like halves today especially are very structured. They play very structured, but you're quite the opposite. You're very instinctual. Yeah. So how do you adapt to that, and how do you build that confidence to play like that?
Well, I feel every week you go into a game plan, and how players are going to defend, and what their trends are. But if you don't have the ability to adapt or to have a plan in place for something else to go completely wrong, well, then you just fall into that. I think defensive systems, they rattle you a little bit, if that makes sense.
I think it's more of a mindset thing, because you go into a game with a structure, with a game plan in place, but sometimes that game plan that you've trained all week for doesn't go according to plan, right? Yeah. So you need to be picking up things on the run. But I think it's more of a confidence thing. But you don't have that. Like you if you see something's changed, you're happy to pull the trigger on a certain play. Yeah. Has that always been like that?
Yeah, I believe going into certain games, you try and take a mental note of different defensive systems, and if someone's not doing something that you've already game planned, well, I've got different shapes in mind that I can pull the trigger on, if that makes sense. So while going into a game plan knowing how they're going to defend, and if they throw something else different, I already know what I'm going to throw, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like I don't know. I think there's this misconception that I'm quite unstructured, and I play a lot of eyes up footy, but it's I'm a real footy head. I watch a lot of footy. I watch a lot of vision in terms of training. I watch so much stuff that I know exactly what I'm going to do before I get out there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I know, different trends to different teams, and I'm a bit of a nerd in terms of watching a lot of footy and watching a lot of games. So it's and I try to encourage, like, especially young kids coming into the game at the club. I try to encourage just taking little mental notes about what's happening, and little, I suppose, just encouraging the boys to look in to know what that defender's doing on the inside, to know what the defender in front of you is doing, like just thinking about all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And there might be a time where you get a middle where, they're tired or whatever, and they just think that they're just coming up sideways for no particular reason, just because they're tired, and you just take them on. It just creates doubt in the defence's mind.
Yeah, and you always, especially in the early period of the game, you don't want to show your cards too early.
Yeah.
You might have some set plays here, but even if you're running block shape, you hit a couple of leads, keep that half honest, keep them sitting on that lead, and then hopefully create a 3-on-2 late in the game once a bit of fatigue's involved. I
think early in the game, when a lot of teams are fresh, they actually defend quite well. So you've got to try and break that down. And by breaking that down, you put a lot of, you put work into them. You try and win that possession rate, and then you might get someone sort of turning in because they're too tired, or the lead runs a very good lead that they can't turn out on, and creates doubt in the centre's mind, and just trying to find little ways that you can, find those little, I suppose, what are they called? Little deficiencies, or but I enjoy it. I love it.
If you could give advice to any of the young halves coming through, because it's obviously the most high pressure environment you could play on the footy field, what's the best piece of advice you could give those kind of guys? Because playing half, you guys have so much burden on your shoulders. You obviously got to steer the team. You take most of the responsibility when it comes to wins and losses. So what kind of advice can you give?
Yeah, I don't know. I think just having the ability to play either side of the field is obviously very important. If you can get to that part of your game where you're not sort of pigeonholed to one side of the field. But there's a lot of different, piece of advice that I could give a lot of young halves. But I reckon creating great relationships with people that you play with a lot of the time. Like, I've got a wonderful relationship with Latrell. I'm real close to him. Sometimes I don't even need to call a play, and we just sort of know what's around. I remember having a great relationship with Reno, Cookie, over the years, and just knowing, their strengths and what they bring, and also how I can help that relationship, if that makes sense.
Total sense. Talk about creating relationships, because you haven't been able to create a good, strong relationship since Reno left. Like, you think about it, Lockie's left, you got Lewis Dodd coming in and out, Humphreys as well. Whiten has slotted in at 6 a couple of times. Trell hasn't even had a consistent year of footy. Yeah. Has that been a bit of a struggle?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you have a look at a lot of the top teams, you see a lot of the spine playing a lot of games together.
Melbourne's a perfect example,
which creates a lot of
because the whole team's moulded around you guys.
Well, yeah, it creates a lot of inconsistencies. But again, I think especially this year, what we've shown is that we were able to, stand up and fight. Like, we look back at the last 4 games, we've played against all top 4 sides, and we've been in the game, right? So our effort and our fights a big tick, right? Like, it's been probably the best part of our game.
What's changed from last year to this year? Because you said that effort area. You guys don't roll over. You guys are in the contest pretty much the whole time.
I don't know. It's hard to sort of pinpoint, certain areas that have changed. But
maybe it was a bit of not a dent to the ego, but maybe you took last year a bit personal. You guys are better than what you guys dished up. Maybe.
Yeah, I think if you look at, if you look at the end of last year and the way we started our pre-season, a lot of the players and a lot of the, the important players have taken a lot of made a lot of good choices over the break. Come back a lot healthier, a lot fitter.
Keon, wow.
Keon's a perfect example of that. He went on a tour with Tonga, and then he started pre-season a bit late, but then he dropped I think it was 7 or 8 kilos. Like that's
Wayne's big on that, eh?
That just shows your teammates that you want to do better, you want to improve, and the team actually means something to you. So
100%.
When guys are making those choices and making those changes in their life, what does that then tell someone else? That's that I'm not going to let him down because he's just come back. So I want to do better, right?
No excuse.
So there's no excuses there. So, and I think one of the things that Wayne really drives, like Wayne Bennett teams are no frills. They're high completion.
Simple
work
footy.
hard for one another. Simple type footy, and I think that's what we've been doing really well. Like is just going after it with just simple things in the game: line speed, kick chase, no errors,
effort areas,
no errors. Because if we can get and this is I don't want this to sound as like we're full of ourselves and we're quite cocky, but I feel as though if we get enough opportunity, right, down in their end and putting a lot of fatigue into the game, I don't feel many teams can defend us.
I agree.
And that, again, that's no disrespect to anyone in the game. It's just,
I think if you don't have that belief, then you're in the wrong industry.
It's just a belief that we like to have. If we can get enough opportunities inside their half and I suppose not give them as much opportunity coming out, with errors and penalties and getting them out of their end.
Yeah.
It goes a long way in winning the game, right? So I think that little mind shift has changed in our team. So it's been great. I mean, some of the guys that have come to the club, like Jamie Humphries, is a wonderful addition to our team.
He's made of granite, that bloke. My God, hammer and chisel.
He's one of them guys that, without putting too much pressure on him, he's like a Cam Murray in terms of the way he prepares for training, the way he prepares for a game. He's very professional in that regard. And Ewan Aiken's been a wonderful addition to our team. Like
Hubner,
Lockie Hubner's another one.
You can understand why Wayne brought those guys to the team.
Yeah.
You can see why.
Yeah.
You're talking about effort areas, and one thing that's definitely improved is having those kind of guys in the team. And you're talking about when you see another player doing those effort areas, you want to kind of contribute as well.
You don't want to let your team down.
Exactly.
So it creates a good vibe at the club. Like, I mean, you were at the club for a number of years, and I believe we've got a great, I suppose, just tight-knit group, and we have a lot of fun. I mean, you're on the end of some some squad banter.
Likewise. But you get angry. You want to fight everyone.
I'm a bit of a sook when it comes to that. But no, I just believe we've just got a great group where we all put shit on each other, and
no one takes it personal.
No one sort of takes it personal. It's a good vibe, and yeah.
Well, you've been at the club what now? Over 10 years?
Yeah,
you were there in 2014?
I signed with the club at 2014. I was at Melbourne at the time, and it was actually, I was nearly going to come before June 30.
Oh, wow. What was that? Why didn't it work out in Melbourne?
My kids were living in Sydney at the time. So I found it hard to be away from them. So I made a decision to come up to Sydney, but for whatever reason,
you had probably one of the best spine in front of you as well.
Well, there was a 5'8" position down there that was up for grabs, but I got named in the. I was meant to debut round 10, I think, against the Manly Sea Eagles, and I done me hemi the next day.
Fuck, you're kidding. So
throughout that period when I was recovering from the hamstring injury, there was negotiations, and South were one of the teams that came on board, and they wanted to get me that year. and the Storm made a decision that they didn't want to let me go, which their choice and their prerogative. I had to honour that deal, so I didn't
hold your feelings.
Well, I didn't hold grudges. It was just what it is, right?
Yeah,
so I just said that's all right, perfectly fine. Ended up playing the rest of the year out in reserve grade in Brisbane.
How does that work? Like you guys have to fly up day before or on game day?
No, day before. I think we used to fly up day before and do captain's run and then stay there.
Yeah, got ya.
And then if it was an early enough flight, we'd fly home after. It was it was different because I ended up playing up there before that, and I lived in Brisbane at the time. So it was different to actually leave Melbourne and go up there. There was a lot of time in the air and travel and all that sort of stuff. So it was a bit of a challenge. I didn't get to see much of Melbourne because I was either training or flying away to go play, or if I had a bye weekend, I'd always be in Sydney seeing the kids. So, but yeah, I enjoyed being amongst some legends of our game. Like some of them players down there are just amazing. Like got to train with arguably the three.
Crazy.
They'll be future immortals, right? So just to see how they go about their business, how they, I suppose, even talk in meetings and things like that, it just surprises you really.
But you take it for granted, like being down there in that system under Craig Bellamy, like.
I don't think I ever took it for granted. Like I was 23, 24 at the time, so I was quite mature age. I just, worked extremely hard because I knew that the opportunity that was in front of me. And I enjoyed it. Like it was probably the hardest preseason I've ever done, just because it was that I'd never done a first grade preseason, so it was my first ever, and it definitely shocks the system.
Yeah.
And then the camps.
Did you have to do the 2-week labouring thing?
Yeah, I've done it with Richie Kenner.
Did you? Did you? Oh, no way. So you guys go way back.
He's day one, yeah, day one.
Oh, no way. Well,
him and Heimel Huntley
as well.
And it was Cam Munster's first preseason as well.
Oh, wow.
So it was I remember we had to do the old I think it was 5:30 weights in the morning, and then when you finish that, go to work for 8 hours, and then you'd have to come back and do field in the Arvo.
Oh, 20s all over again.
Oh
my God.
But Richie, I used to have to drive because he didn't have his license. And you know how much he sleeps, right?
Oh, mate.
Within 3 minutes in the car,
he's out.
He's out cold, and I'm having to drive to the job site, and I'm just like, oh.
You've got anxiety. You're about to bloody run laps.
I'm about to fall asleep on the wheel, and he's out there going.
Because I go back a little bit. When we used to play 20s, obviously I was at South. You were playing for the Titans at the time. How did you end up playing for the Titans? Like you're obviously a proud casino boy. Population just over 10,000.
Yeah.
How did the connection happen there with the Titans?
So when the Titans first came into the club, into the NRL, we were part of their catchment area. So because Titans is the Gold Coast and casino's probably 2 hours.
Born in casino?
No, I was born in Nowra,
on
the South Coast. Lived down there till I was about 3.
Yep.
Moved to the North Coast of New South Wales, and that's where I've spent majority of my childhood. So I'd signed a development deal with them, and that just entailed just getting a bit of gear, and you'll just sign as a player. You do a couple of camps, a couple of times a year, and I thought I was killing it, right? Like, and then it got to I think I was about 17, and it was at that time where you just start to experiment as a young kid, and probably being out late on weekends and things like that, and Dad just sort of got a bit worried about that, and he sort of said, because Shannon Walker was, I think Shannon Walker, and there was another few Kyogle boys that were from Kyogle, but they moved up there to go go to the school.
Yeah. What school was that?
Palm Beach.
You're a Palmy boy, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
so I ended up having a meeting with one of the Titans recruitment. I think Tommy Searle, his name was. And Dad just sort of said, mate, we need to get him out of casino, otherwise there's probably going to be some
not the environment he wanted you.
Yeah, he didn't want me in that environment, wanted me to, get out of there. And I moved up to Gold Coast and started going to school at Palm Beach. And they had the inaugural SG Ball. Remember that?
Yeah.
That year, 2008?
Yeah, 7 or 8, yeah, around there.
It was the inaugural Gold Coast Titans SG Ball, so I ended up playing in that. We'd come to Sydney every couple of weeks, and it was a good experience. And then after that year, we ended up winning the Arrival Live against
right.
Reno. Yeah,
that's right.
We
played I remember that. Who else was in that team?
In my team, Ryan James.
Yes.
Jordan Rankin.
Yes.
I think they're the only two we're the only three that played first grade.
Is Jordan Rankin still the youngest player to ever debut? He debuted
I think he's number 2 or 3. He's in that.
How old was he? You remember?
16.
16.
Crazy, man. He was
How
16
does that
and
even
a half.
happen?
Yeah.
Were they that desperate? Not desperate as in not taking away from his talent, but I'm to debut a 16-year-old.
He was, to be fair, he was playing pretty good footy that year. Just
But you look at the 16-year-olds coming through.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong, I agree.
You're not a man.
Yeah.
You're a boy.
He went from schoolboy, and he was one of the youngest to play 20s at that. I think he played 20s that year.
Yeah.
And then he went on to play. I'm not sure whether he made Australia that year, schoolboys, but he had a cracking year that year.
Fair enough.
And I still remember the day that he was playing. It was a Monday night game, and he came to school and he played NRL. It was just a crazy experience, right? We were all just wow, this lad's going to go play first grade.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's following on from that, I ended up going into the 20s.
Yeah.
Played 2 years at 20s, and
was there anything else beyond that, available or on the table?
Yeah, well, they end up telling me after my last year, our school coach that we won the Arrival Live with they announced him to be the head coach of 20s.
Yeah.
So they sort of said to me that if I have a good year next year, we'll look at putting you in first grade or.
But there was no guarantee, really.
That was at the end of the year. We'll put you in the squad or whatever that may be. There might be an opportunity at the back end of that year, and I felt I probably had one of the better years of 20s that year.
Yeah, you were one of the best halves. I remember coming up against you. I remember that game we played at Seabus. I don't know if you remember this. Obviously,
was that the year that you? Was that the game that you?
Final.
Oh no, that was a semi. We nearly done yours.
Was it semi?
Yeah.
Oh, it was semi. Yes, it was.
So you came first.
Yes, correct.
We came 8th.
Yes.
And because Titans had a home semi, we got the home semi.
That's right. Yeah. I remember.
And we were beating you.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I think we got a try. I can't remember, but I remember we gave up an error coming out of yardage. Oh no, you stripped it. And it was blatant.
So James, it was at the back end. It was a minute to go.
Oh, it's Jimmy Roberts.
James took a carry, and I came out from market and just
you
went for the ball, right?
Offside, bro. I was
not offside. I was onside. Okay. But I hit the ball out, and it was an error.
They called knock on.
Yeah.
I couldn't fucking believe it. I'm like, and you're just setting up on my side.
Well, back then it was. We didn't really. I think we played at a night, so it wasn't televised.
Nah, that game wasn't. I don't think
so. So in terms of action replays, they wouldn't have had any of that.
True.
So the ref would have just went, error, loose carry.
Even though your arm was up here,
even though my arm come from the back of my head.
Oh my God, that'll do me.
And it was the first thing I touched, and then you had to defend
off the scrum.
No, just off the scrum.
It was just one play.
Just one play.
Who was that? Joe
Tamane
or something. Yeah. I remember I was marking
he
up
was
against him. I don't know what happened. I think you guys I think you tried doing a doubles. You were running double shape on the third man or on the centre.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can't remember. We solved it anyway and we won. So fuck you. Anyway, so you ended up. We actually just missed each other. Like you went to Penrith 2011, right?
Yeah.
So how did you end up at Penrith?
Well, I probably when I heard about that, about them not offering me another deal, I probably fucking kicked the stones and got a bit pissed off because I felt like I deserved a pre-season at least with the Titans. And then, so I was probably just wasn't turning up to Tweed Seagulls training and just fucking being a little sook, really. And then my brother was at Penrith.
Ryan?
Yeah. He was at Penrith for, I can't remember how many years, but he was living at Para at the time. And he had a spare room at Para. And he just asked me, just said, why don't you come down here for a year? Like, and he was quite professional in terms of the way he looked after himself. His diet, his stretching and his preparation was just top key. And he said, look, I'd help you out in that regard. And that was probably what was lacking at the time, was just my ability to look after myself.
Yeah.
I didn't like gym. I didn't like, any hard work, any hard fitness or anything like that. Like there's no secret about that when I was, young. I had a bit of a pot belly and all that sort of stuff. So I thought it was a great idea. Went down, played a year at Windsor. And I felt that was probably my hardest year of footy that I've been through. Just in terms of, like the 20s, you're flying around the country, you got all the gear, you're playing on TV, you think you're killing it and you think you've already made it.
Yeah.
To then go and play reserve grade
in Windsor
on a Saturday night in July in front of...
Aren't you brought back to reality?
In front of 20 people, like it was a big reality check. And to go further on than that, I was a 21-year-old halfback, 5'8", not in an NRL system at that time, having 30-year-old props and back rolls coming back to reserve grade, and them not wanting to be there and them knowing what it would take to get them to first grade, didn't want to listen to me. So I found that a bit of a struggle, just in terms of just trying to get people around the park and
call shots.
No one
wants to listen to you.
And telling, and I don't believe they done it on purpose. It was just,
I don't think you've experienced it, but when you get dropped back to reserve grade, it's almost like there's an element of part of you where you think you're not better than them, but you're sulking in a way because you'd rather be playing grade rather than reserve grade. So it's a touchy,
and probably the difference between what first grade want compared to what the team needs in reserve grade.
Exactly.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to put my flashy plays on, and the front rowers just want to carry and get their 10 to 15 minutes, get a quick play of the ball and be on their way, right? So I can understand that part of it. So I found that really quite difficult. I found that it was my hardest year, and it was my hardest year, but it taught me so much. That to be a dominant half, you've got to get into them. You know what I mean? So following on from that year, I end up signing with East Tigers because I was I thought at the time that Queensland Cup had probably a better squad systems than a lot of New South Wales rugby league teams.
I agree.
Only because at Windsor we were getting five Windsor boys that were signed coming to train, and the rest were all first graders coming back. So in terms of training, we couldn't really do much with 5 players. We'd have to wait for all the boys to come back. Whereas when I went to East Tigers, we had a group of 40 that were first grade. Fogs it was Reggie's, We would all train together all pre-season, right? So it was more like a club, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think we were getting 5 to 6 back from Melbourne every week.
And you got opportunity to build those relationships, right?
And you got opportunity to build those relationships. So it was, I found it quite difficult.
And the alignment between Melbourne and East, they were one of the clubs that they gave back players, right?
So Melbourne, we got players back from Melbourne.
Right.
And they had another affiliation with the Sharks. Remember they had that affiliation with Sharks?
Oh,
Melbourne?
yes.
So they'd go half Brisbane, half in Cronulla. So I had that year in 2012, I think it was.
Yep.
With East, and it was, and at the end of that year, I ended up getting a pre-season with Melbourne.
And did you play that good that you obviously turned a few heads at Melbourne? Is that how it went down? Or?
No, so I done a pre-season with Melbourne in 2012.
Yep.
I lasted a week and I done my shoulder.
Fuck.
And then 2013, I missed the first 9 games of the season because it was one of them things that if you don't work in reserve grade, you actually don't get paid.
No chance.
So I had a job that I couldn't work. It was just in a warehouse and I wasn't getting paid. So in my head, I was like, I need to get back earlier because I'd had a young boy at the time. He was just born. Or he was just turned 1. So I'd done everything in my power to get myself back early from a shoulder reco. So I was back 16 weeks.
What?
After my surgery, because I just had no other choice. I remember I was in the warehouse. It was just like it was a Suzuki warehouse, and I was grabbing I think it was this shoulder. No, I think it might have been this shoulder. Just grabbing little parts and just doing
wow,
just little weights just to get my body moving and making sure there's movement in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I got back, I think it might have been round 9, I played off the bench for the first game. And then I might have played off the bench the next game. So I went on to win the Player of the Year that year in Queensland Cup.
Yeah.
I think it's the Petro Siva medal. I went on to win that, and I had no clue I was winning it. I was already going to the awards to get top point scorer because I was goal kicker.
Yeah.
So I was there, and my coach actually knew that I was winning it.
He didn't tell you?
He didn't tell me. And I was like, I was just sitting there and I was sort of just watching because you know how they do the Daily M's and they do the points every game. And it started getting to the back end of the year and I started just slowly started to creep up. And I was like, I'm a chancey. And it came down to the last round.
Yeah.
And we played against the guy that was coming first at the time, Matty Pittman. I think he was coming first, and we played against him the last round, and we put 50 on him.
Wow.
So he was 2 points in front of me. So if I got 2 points that game, it was a joint winner.
Correct.
Or if I got 3 and he got 1, it was a joint winner.
Yeah.
So I got 3 and he got none.
Far.
Mate, my heart
I can
sunk.
imagine that.
It was just a crazy experience. I was shaking.
Far. But that would have just done so much for yourself.
And you know what happened the next day? 8 o'clock in the morning, contract offer straight through the next morning.
No way.
So I signed it straight away.
Yeah, of course.
We were going through negotiations with Melbourne.
But after that would have just solidified everything that they've been thinking.
So I'd got a 1-year deal. And I signed it as soon as I possibly could because I'd never been in...
Especially going to Melbourne.
Big club,
Premier club.
You know. Following on from that, I heard there was a bit of interest from different other clubs, but I just didn't care. I just wanted to go to Melbourne. And
bit of a sliding doors moment there. Like what other clubs were potentially...
Look, I don't know how much interest it was, but I think they just rang up to just
inquire,
see what's happening. I think Gold Coast was one of them.
It's interesting you didn't go back there because closer to home.
Yeah,
you know their environment.
Yeah,
didn't really think too much of it.
No, at that time I just thought Melbourne was the best option just in terms of, you know, their system, their coach, track record, like,
of course.
you know, all of those, you know, to learn off Coops and Slater and Smith and those type of guys. It was just made sense for me. And then as soon as I seen the NRL contract come through, I signed it within a couple of hours. So I was like, get it done. Let's just get it out of the road. So, you know, following on from that year, starting pre-season, it was the biggest shock to the system I've ever been a part of.
That's tough.
It was
toughest pre-season you've ever
done. I remember our first wrestling session. I thought Richie was a front row. And I remember like just going in there and leaving that wrestle session. You just seen the souls of the boys just leave their body. It was just crazy.
Yeah, fuck. I think the toughest wrestle session I did was 2020 Penrith, mate. Just brutal. No water.
Yeah.
Just straight 1 hour in a hot box, just bashing the fuck out of each other.
Yeah.
And
I remember, and down there, when you're a new recruit, they actually put you in situations to see what you're made of.
Of course, yeah. See if you break.
So if I was like, as a half, they had like all of the big, because they do backs and forwards.
Yeah, yeah.
So that out of all the big forwards just running straight at you.
Jesus.
So you had Mahe Fanua, like,
oh, Jesus.
Junior Sal was there at the time, and like Sisawang, all these like strong
power backs.
Like just
they're all power backs.
Powerful as, and you're trying to just get your body in front and not give up. It was a big shock to the system, but I'm really glad that I experienced it, because I reckon it's put me in good stead. You know, for the rest of my career. Even the army camp was just
wow,
crazy.
And like all the army, obviously you've done a few army camps. That army camp, that pre-season, nothing tops that.
I reckon nothing tops it, just because it was
shock
of the system. Like, yeah. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know. I'd done the pre-season the year before, but I only lasted a week. I didn't do the working program. I didn't do any of that. So the working program was, for the first 2 weeks, was quite tough. But again, I can understand why they do it.
Yeah.
To give you
perspective,
appreciation, and to realise how lucky you are to be able to do what you do what you love, and
live out your passion. And
live out your passion, because if you think about it, majority of the kids coming through the game, when you start watching rugby league and you start loving it as a kid, that's all you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So to be able to do that for a living it's obviously a privilege and an honour, and you don't want to.
Do you find that you lose a little bit of that once you've made it in NRL, because it becomes more of a job?
No, I don't think so. As I said, I'm a nerd, like, of the game. Like, I love watching majority of the games. I love, game plan, and I love turning up to training each and every day.
I mean, more the sense of like media interviews, commitment.
I think that part of it is
sponsorship.
I think that part of it is.
But you understand why you do it.
You understand why it's around, and you understand the sponsors are, they put a hell of a lot into the club, and they're the reason why you're able to support your family, right? So you get all that. Like, so I enjoy talking to sponsors and doing that part of the game, because I know how important it is.
Of course. You go to Souths, right? So you signed there 2014, you were saying? 2014, you debuted 2016, so you're a 26-year-old now. You've obviously been jumping from club to club. You've been told you weren't good enough, or they didn't have that belief initially from the Titans, from Melbourne. What made you stay that patient to 26? Like, were there any opportunities for you to be like, you know what, I think I've had enough. Like,
Well, 2015 was an interesting year for me. That year, I was playing decent enough to get an opportunity to play first grade. Like, playing for the North Sydney Bears. I think I missed out on the Player of the Year. I came to second or third that year. But it was interesting because there was a couple of opportunities where I felt I should have debuted that year. And I don't think Madge would care if I mentioned this. Like, I'd have multiple conversations with Madge about, you know, an opportunity, feel like I'm playing my best footy. What do you need to see from me? Like, I was having really good conversations with him. And he sort of said, look, you're doing everything right. I just don't know whether it will transfer into first grade.
What kind of answer is that?
And I said, look, I don't know if you don't pick me, how would you know? How would you know, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
It got to the end of that year, and if you remember correctly, South played Cronulla in the semi-final, and we played them at Allianz, and we got knocked out first game. And so the review meeting, I walked in, like I went into the review meeting with Madge and that, and we sat down and we had a good chat, and I just expressed how I started to doubt my own ability. Like, I was like, I'm really starting to doubt whether I'm good enough to play first grade, and you know, whether I can do it. And he said something to me that sort of motivated me a little bit more. He goes, look, we didn't have the year that we wanted to, or we expected after winning the comp. He said, so the preseason there's a blank sheet of paper. Your destiny's in your hands, right? So for me, that gave me a bit of hope. Yeah. Luke Keary was suspended for game one the next year because he got suspended in that last game. So I knew there was an opportunity there. So coming back to preseason, I was quite fit. I had the best preseason I'd had. And being a mature-aged, I suppose, debutant, nothing really fazed you going into the game. Yeah. Like, I didn't get as nervous. I didn't get, you know, overwhelmed with, you know, with anything. I even told my parents now, I said, don't tell anyone that I'm debuting. Just let it all happen. Let the game happen. We'll sort tickets out and all that sort of stuff. So getting to the game, I actually didn't feel as nervous. I was quite good.
Nothing at all. Like, even though you would have, there would have been something in the back of your mind.
The only thing that sort of happened throughout the game or before the game was when I was walking out of the tunnel, and this has never really it's happened to me since then, but to that moment, it had never happened to me. I walked out, and all the hairs on the back of my neck, like stood up, and I was like, far out, how good's this? And you know the roar when you're sort of walking out, and the roar just, that's the only little bit of, whether you call that nerves or whether you call that, you know, you're just excited to play. But I'd never felt that up until that point, and I've felt it since then, like, you know, grand final, Origin, All-Stars, all those sort of things, those big games, you feel that all the time. But we end up beating Roosters, and it was crazy that I've said this a number of times in the media, that it was Trell's debut as well. So we debuted on exactly the same game against one another.
Fuck off! I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he was an 18-year-old superstar.
Yeah.
And he played on the left wing, on the right wing, and I was left half. And it was Semi's first game back from rugby. So we ended up dusting them up at Allianz, and it was just an unreal experience. It was just, I suppose you got a sense of relief after the game, because all of the sacrifice and all the heartaches and the challenges that you went through, it was all worth it in that moment, right? And following on from that, Renault broke his jaw.
That game.
So that gave me
even more hope.
Well,
in the sense that you've got two halves down.
Well, you never ever, you know, like seeing, you know, your mates or players get injured, but it gave you an extra opportunity to continue to play first grade, right? Yeah. So I end up having another 5 to 6 games in first grade, and then they had to make a decision when Renault and Keary come back, or Renault came back from injury, what they wanted to do. Yeah. And obviously I understand that they picked the premiership winning halves, which I think a lot of coaches would do, right?
Makes sense.
I can't remember how we were going at that point. And I had some conversations with Madge, and I went back to reserve grade, and I think I played 1 or 2 games in reserve grade. And if you remember correctly, it was around that time where they weren't going too well, and they experimented with putting GI back to fullback.
Yep.
And there was an opportunity to play fullback. Oh, they put GI back to 5'8".
Back to 5'8".
And then there was an opportunity that popped up in at fullback, and they sort of asked me, "Would you play fullback?" And I said, "I'd play anywhere. I don't care. I just want to play first grade." Never played fullback since I was like 14, 15, so it was a position that was totally new to me. But I didn't care because
It gave you another opportunity.
I was back playing first grade, so I was like, it was a challenge for me to understand the role of a fullback, just because it's a different type of fitness.
Oh,
It's one of them ones where
you're constantly moving, bro.
if they kick the ball down, you've got to sprint to the ball, and then find the energy to sprint back to the defensive line and get folded. So I'm like, so I was getting hammered, right? But I didn't care because I just loved playing footy. Like and I suppose it taught me a lot about playing different positions, or playing that type of positions. What I could teach me playing 5'8" again, or playing half, just putting myself in different positions and knowing what the fullback wants, or knowing what works. So I think it helped me read the game a little bit better, just know different roles, what the centre want, like what the centre would want off me, or what the centre would want off the half. Like, just, I don't know, it just gave me a better understanding of the game.
Yeah.
So I found that a different sort of experience, but I enjoyed it. I loved it.
I mean, you went to debut at 26, and to think now that you've played over 200 NRL games for that club.
Yeah.
Crazy. If I was to take you back when you were 26-year-old, what has changed in you as a person to now?
I think a lot of people would laugh at this probably the calmness in the way I am.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of storylines that come out. I'm quite passionate. I'm animated. I challenge my teammates and in different ways. I mean, I spray a lot of people, but I think now I'm more calm in my approach to the game. I mean, you probably copped a couple.
Well, I'm going to get to that. I can't wait. I got my first taste. We're actually all right. We never really butted heads much.
Well, you played on the right, I played on the left, so it was like...
Yeah, we'll compare. You know what it is? To be honest, we're not that far different from each other if you really think about it. We're very competitive.
Yeah, we are.
We're ultra competitive.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I hate losing.
I remember we were doing edge on edge, and I think he hit Gags with a long ball, and I jammed him, and he dropped it or something, and you got up before it. And I'm like, why is he getting up me? I'm like, I'm defending the play, and then me.
We were having like a little...
You were here.
We were just going at each other.
We were just going at each other. They were going in circles. They were just... And then I'm going to go, oh, you know what, training's done now. I'm going to go talk to him. He's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Anyway, we didn't speak all week.
Yeah.
I know it was a semi-final, so obviously a lot of emotions and angst. Anyway, we literally don't speak all week. You beat Manly off the back of your killer performance. And then after the end of the game, we look at each other on the field and we're like, come here. It's honestly one of my highlights. I was oh my God, far with the grand final, how good.
Yeah.
And nothing ever happened. It was all back to normal. Probably, I think we'll see on the bus together. It was fucking weird. But
I think I approach the game a little bit different these days. You know, you mature a little bit better.
Yeah.
I still have that competitive nature. I still...
You should never lose that, but I don't think that's a flaw in you, though.
I hate fucking losing. Like, I can't stand losing a offside touch game at training. And I'm competing against our teammates. Like, I just don't like losing in terms of competitive games and all that sort of stuff. So I just love that winning feeling. I love out competing. But yeah, it's one of those things that I've had to learn to deal with.
like off the back of that little scuffle we had, 2021 was probably your best ever season. Is that fair to say? Best season.
Yeah.
Obviously playing the grand final, we just get done. But what you have to live with for the rest of your life is obviously throwing that bomb pass, right? Obviously doesn't represent you as a player, but how have you kind of put that behind you and still play the way you do?
I'd throw that pass every day of the week. I'd still throw that pass.
Yeah.
Obviously not knowing the outcome.
Of course.
If I see a winger in that tight and I see an opportunity to that's what makes me, I think. And I'd probably still throw that pass. I just hope it's not a 7 foot Stephen Crichton on the other end. But no, look, he made an unreal.
It was,
read, and it was a split second to make that call, and he made it. And in the end, it was one of those things that decided the grand final, right? But I still feel as though after that particular that moment, we still had plenty of chances to win the game.
We did, man.
And to be fair, if you look at the way that game panned out, we probably shouldn't have been in the game from the get-go. Have you ever watched it?
I kind of don't like to. Hey?
I watch it, and if you look at like some of the possession that we had that game, like we had none of it. We had none at all. We had no opportunity inside their half. Cleary had a masterclass in terms of the way where he finished the ball and where he wanted us to come out of. So he took control of that game. Dictated the game in terms of there. So we probably shouldn't have been in the game. But again, what's shown over the last few years is that we're a club that probably never gives up. And if you look at where we are right now, we're always fighting to be in the result, or to win the game. So it's a wonderful trait to have. But again, I thought we were lucky to be in the game in the end.
You reckon that's why what made you throw that pass even more? Because it was obviously 8-all. You guys had no possession. You saw an opportunity. We talked about the eyes up footy, and you're like,
yeah. In hindsight, if I double pump,
you put Gags through.
Well, I don't think Critter goes for the intercept. I think he goes for Gags if I double pump, right? But again, that's those split second decisions that you have to make.
Exactly.
But yeah, regardless of the result, I felt it was a great experience. Like I love being a part of that 2021 season. I felt like we had the best fun up there.
That was a fun year, man.
It was a fun, and you know what? I don't think anyone in the game will experience a season like that ever again. To be able to be with your teammates for 4 months and
practically live
together, on the Gold Coast
with 4 other teams at the same resort.
Well, that was the first
2 weeks. Yeah.
No, 6 weeks. I think it was 6 to 8 weeks.
6?
Yeah. Well, remember we had.
Oh, it was 2. No, 2 weeks of isolation. We couldn't leave the resort. Yep.
And then there was another 3 or 4 weeks where we stayed in the resort, and then we ended up going to the Q1.
Right.
Remember?
That's right.
But yeah, it was just a great experience. It was, and I've heard Renault say it was one of the funnest years of his whole career, and I believe it was as well. Like, we had the best fun.
Yeah, we did. Like we trained when we needed to train, obviously, but we also had the switch where it was time to spend time together, go down to the beach, hang out as a family. And
Wayne was unreal in terms of. Remember when we were at the resort and he'd organise a barbecue every weekend?
Yeah.
And he'd
down at the surfers there on the beach.
No. Remember down at the surf club. But remember we were in the resort.
Yep.
At the McCure, and we were all together, and we had that. We used to have those barbecues every Sunday.
Yeah.
And then he'd create like little games nights, and we'd all go down the back oval and play little chipping games, and just enjoyed each other's company. And I think that went a long way in
pushing us to get to the grand final,
pushing us to get through, right? And I think we didn't lose. We got beat by that year. Remember, we got beat by 50 against Penrith.
Oh, in Dubbo. How can I forget?
And then we got flogged by Melbourne a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, down in... No,
it was at
home.
At McCaw. Foxy scored 6. Remember?
Yep. I didn't play that game. I was thank God. Gags took all the duties to play right week. And I'm in the coach's box watching. I'm like, oh, fuck, that could have been me.
Yeah.
Poor Gags.
And then after that, we went on a 7-game winning streak.
That was
it was just, crazy.
I want to speak about AJ for a sec, man. Like, what that bloke's going to do and what we're about to witness, I don't think we should take for granted because, man, he's only got a handful of tries left to surpass Ken Irvine's total. And I reckon I would lock on wood he gets it, and I'm sure he's going to get it. But if he does get it, I want the game to absolutely stop. I want the fans to run onto the field and honestly just acknowledge that moment because see someone to do that again,
you're probably never going to see it. In the modern game.
You won't.
In this.
You got to give him his flowers. You got to give him his flowers, man.
And to be fair, you know what? A lot of people always comment on he just walks over tries.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
It's absolute garbage because he makes a lot of the tries happen just by his positioning and knowing where to be. And people sit there and say it's, me and Trell and, some wonderful players in the game that give him that space. Yes, that's right. But he puts himself in those positions as well.
100%.
Like, some of the tries that he scores are just, I don't think anyone else scores them. That's my honest opinion. And he always, whenever, I remember he was injured and there was a game where Richie scored 3 on his left wing and we'd always come in and we were like, oh, bro, there's another 3 gone.
Well, not only that, like even that year, when I came in, I came back, I think I've gone to the left. I can't remember who went. I think Tana went to the right. And I think you put me over for like 10. I think 10 in 10 games. Yeah. I was like, oh, that could have been him.
Yeah.
Not saying that. They were pretty good tries I scored. But I just want him to get his flowers because he hasn't got the rap that he deserves, I feel. And winger to winger, I respect what he does, especially more.
He's so smart, man.
Yeah, he's a smart footballer. But he's just smart in general.
Smart in general. Like he's so intelligent, like just the way he thinks about...
You talk about split seconds, right?
Like defensively, like just being in the right position at the right time. Like
that's so important. It goes back to what you were saying about building those relationships and connection, like knowing your ticks and your timing and timing his run off your pass. Yeah. Like this... The split second of catching the ball behind you compared to catching it right on front and the knack and ability he has to just catch it right on the chest and obviously your distribution, of course. But
sometimes you look at him, sometimes he throws the ball and if it's there, he'll hit it in front. Like he'll just sort of hit it up and catch it and not lose a stride. I just don't know how he does it. Like it's, he's just got a knack to find a try line and be in a position that we need him to be without even saying anything.
Yeah. What about Trell? I feel like he's really matured this season in particular.
Well, I thought on the weekend he was unreal.
Yeah. Last couple of weeks.
Yeah, last couple of weeks. Like in Origin, I don't think anyone, and this is no disrespect to anyone else, no one in the game throws the passes that he's been able to throw in Origin, right? Like,
no.
It's just, I've never seen anything like it. But he can do that on both sides of the field. That's what makes Latrell special. If you see some of even on the weekend, he was on the right side and someone jammed, and I reckon he had the ball in for not even in his hands for not even a second, and it hit Ewan Aiken on the chest. Like no one in the game does that, right? Like people favour one side of the field,
of course,
majority of the time. But I don't see, in terms of like ball playing, I don't see a favour in his game.
I would love to see him and GI going at it. Oh my God. Unbelievable.
They played against each other once.
Did they? Oh, they did too.
It was Greggy's last year.
That's right.
We played at SCG.
I sort of see him on the wrestle mats going at it, fucking ripping each other up. But
I wouldn't like to be in that.
No, mate. Back to you. for all the people or the kids coming through that have been overlooked and haven't got the opportunity yet, because I think you see it now. I think you obviously got boys now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they've experienced it yet, but having the rugby league academy, when the kids don't make certain reps, particularly the juniors, it's a bit of a kick in the guts, and they don't know how to handle that. Yeah. What's your advice to that? Like to stay motivated and to keep believing in yourself when you're overlooked.
Yeah, I think disappointment at a young age is good for their development moving forward. My son just recently made the junior bunnies this year in the under 14s, and he didn't make it last year. And one of the things was he got pretty upset about it. And I just said to him, I said, look, I believe it's a good sign, well, not a good sign, but it's good for your learning. You know, it eliminates straight away that you don't make the side because of who your dad is, what your last name is.
Exactly.
He's unfortunately got to live with that pressure for the rest of his life, unfortunately. Not due to his fault at all. So I said that's a good thing, that you're able to, you know, you're not making it because of who you are and your name. But also we made an agreement that he just needed to work a little bit harder, and he wanted to do that. And this year he made it. And he was that excited, and I was that happy for him because he put in the work. He's taken a lot of... I don't try to give him too much advice on different things. I just try and let him go out there and play the game. And if I can help in some way, I'll try and help.
It's different as well because you're a dad.
Yeah.
You got to be that father figure. And obviously there's a natural competitive nature between father and son.
Well, I also think that a lot of kids put a lot of pressure on themselves.
I agree.
Like, they're so hard on themselves for making a simple error in a game, or...
Because we think we have to be perfect.
Well, and that's the thing, is that it's how they react from those errors that's the most important thing. Not generally worried about what you just done, but worried about where you can be better next time. So I think, like, making it, I suppose, normal that it's okay to make errors without putting so much pressure on yourselves. Because like there's been times where my son's played basketball and he gets that worked up with himself that he's in his head straight away, and he's in his head for a little bit of time, and then I might just give him a little calm down, or, you know, like, just relax, it's all good. And then by that moment he might have got himself out of that mindset, and he turns the game and he's starting to have a smile on his face. He's starting to, you know, do things. And I'd try and speak to him after every game, just about what he can learn in that game. Not to the point where I'm adding a lot of pressure to him, because I don't care about winning or losing. It doesn't bother me. In terms of, you know, kids' sport or anything like that, because that doesn't bother me. I try and help him in the way he's thinking. Like, if you can get yourself out of that mind earlier than what you did, think about how good that your team would be, or you would be. Yeah. So just...
Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah. Just have a crack.
Yeah.
Throw the ball. Like...
You see something, play it.
Yeah.
Chance your
arm.
Have
a crack.
Yeah. And I just think it's the day and age we live in. Like, everything needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
Where no fucking cunt is perfect. Sorry for my language.
But again, like, I say to him all the time, I said, how many errors does Dad make in a game? But does that deter me of what my job is? Not really. So the highest of levels, they still make mistakes. Yeah. But it's how quickly they can
bounce back from it and
adapt on the run.
You've recently extended as well, haven't you? Yeah? Is that official?
Nah, not official yet.
Not official yet? What are we looking at? Almost pretty much done?
Yeah, almost pretty much done. A few things to go. I'll be at the club next year for sure. I'm excited about it.
So you would be top 3 fossils in the game. I have to say it. The sea dog.
You know what's funny? Me and Mark Nichols.
Yeah.
He's 4 days older than me.
Is he? Yeah.
So he hit the top 10 one year, and he was number 10. So I would have been number 11.
This was in 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd hammer him. I'd screenshot it, send it to him, and he'd be like, "You're number 11." I said, "Yeah, but I'm not on the list yet.
Yes.
I'm not on the list yet."
I remember that.
Anyway, as the years go on, I've got myself to number 3.
Who's number 2 and 1? Oh, Cherry Evans.
And Nico.
Nico, you.
So if they retire, I think I'll retire straight away because I don't want to be the oldest player in the game.
And then there'll be Reno as well.
Well, Reno will be 4 or 5, I think.
Yeah,
I think he's about 6 months younger than me.
Oh, nice, brother. Well, congrats. That's great news.
It's not a good accomplishment to be proud of, I don't think.
When's the end game? When do you see the finish line at any point, or do you feel good?
No,
Keep
not
going?
necessarily. Look, I've always had a bit of a dream or a plan to travel the world. If that entails going to England for a year or two, or going over there and experience that game over there, I'd definitely love to explore. Obviously, that's before I finish my career at South. I absolutely love the club and love what the club's about, and I love putting and representing the jersey each and every week. So it's I've still got some unfinished business here, but when it's time to call it quits, I'd like to see if I can continue playing. I will, and hopefully go over there and enjoy some of the cold.
Yeah, best of luck with that, because I've never seen you in an ice bath in my life. So yeah, good luck. Well, now we've got a bit of fun, brother. Truth or sauce. So basically, it's pretty simple. I ask you a question, you either answer it or you don't answer it. But if you don't, you have to have a hot chip with my sauce on it.
What's the sauce rating?
It's probably on the spicy level. You'll be all right. All right, let's grab it. Let's get it. Here we go. Beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. Cheers. That's me, by the way.
Is it really? You're an idiot, bro.
Look at the rig.
Show us what's it called?
It's called Josh's Molten Man Sauce. I didn't come up with a name. Anyway, so but the catch is you can ask me a question as well. So if I don't answer it, hey, go for gold. So question number 1. Let's get this up. Ready? When you play the teams that never gave you an opportunity, do you play with like a point to prove? Like a chip on a shoulder? Almost?
No, not necessarily. There's only been 2, right? So it's only been Gold Coast and Melbourne, really. Gold Coast, no, just because of I now understand why I didn't get another opportunity. Like, I now get it. And they were well within their rights to not offer me another contract or give me that chance. So I completely get it. Melbourne, I enjoy the challenge of coming up against Melbourne. Like, they've been the most consistent team over the last 10 years, or maybe even longer. So I enjoy that challenge. I don't go into there with a personal vendetta or anything like that. I thoroughly enjoyed my time down there with the players, with the coaching staff. I actually seen Bellamy the other night walking up to the coach's box, and we had a bit of a chat, and there was no we didn't leave on bad terms. It was all amicable. It was they understood the opportunity in front of me. I thoroughly enjoyed being down there and the opportunity to work with those guys. So not necessarily I don't have extra motivation or anything like that. Like, sometimes I might go to the Goldie and a lot of family members are up there, so that adds a little bit of extra motivations, but not necessarily in terms of the actual team or the organisation. No.
Fair enough. Do you want to ask me something, or do you want me to ask you something?
All right. I want to know what's in the rest of those questions.
They're actually pretty sweet. I'm looking after you big time.
Okay. I might ask at the end of the question.
Oh, fuck, you're going to stitch me up. I'm getting nervous now. What was said? All right, so question 2. What was said in 2021 after you played the Bulldogs with Lachlan Lewis for him to grab you after the conclusion of the first half? Because that would probably go down as one of the strangest things I've ever seen happen on a football field. What the fuck?
Well, I'm not sure if you remember correctly. I made a bit of a break down the sideline.
Yeah.
To finish the half.
Yeah.
And I sort of stepped back in and Will Hopewadi tackled me. And I think Lachlan Lewis was on top.
Yeah.
Something happened. I can't remember. And he grabbed me or touched me or something. And I just said, don't fucking touch me. Like just being,
he can't tackle
yeah.
you.
No, but it was when we were getting off or something happened. I can't really remember exactly. And then he goes, what'd you say? And I said, don't fucking touch me. And then he just grabs me.
Is that it?
That was it. So if you hear that story, it's not anything in particular,
We
right?
should put GST on it. Yeah.
And if you have a look at the footage,
Mate, he had crazy eyes. He went nuts.
I held onto the ball.
You did too. Yeah, you did too.
So I'm trying to grab him and I'm holding onto the ball. I don't know why I'm holding onto the ball.
Mate, Muzz was in on it. Gags was in on it. Oh, mate, it was just very bizarre.
But the funny thing after that, because we were all staying at the same hotel, Bulldogs, South,
That's right.
Para, Warriors, and who was the other team? Canberra. And my son, who's... he's got no filter, right? Yeah. He talks to anyone. He's a maniac. He actually questioned him.
No, he didn't. He
goes, why'd you tackle my dad for?
What did he say? What did Lachlan say?
I can't remember, but Lockie come up to me after it.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe the next day or whether it was that day, and he goes, oh, your son actually came up and questioned me. It just sort of simmered the whole thing down as well. Like, we just had a bit of a laugh about it. It was nothing.
What's he doing now? I don't know what he's doing.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
it was quite a funny experience. Like, when you think about it,
mate.
In the moment, it probably gave us like a bit of an edge because he got sin bin after that.
Yeah, I know.
And then we sort of ran away with it.
It was bizarre. I can't. There's no other way to describe it. But anyway,
it was strange.
Weirder things have happened in life. Last one. What's the funniest spray you've given to a player? Because I know you've got a few up your sleeve.
There is a lot.
The biggest exchange. I know the recent one. Something happened. I can't remember what team it was, and someone was asking you to challenge it, and you're like, "You can't fucking challenge it, dickhead! Shut the fuck up!"
So what had happened was, we were playing Penrith, and it was like the last couple of minutes of the game, and Pete gave away a penalty, and he got sin bin into it.
Yes.
And two players, I'm not going to name who they are. I think a lot of people would know.
Yeah, the two dumbest ones. There's your clue.
Two players were blowing up. Challenge it. And I'd already asked a question to the ref. Can we challenge that? And he's like, no, you can't challenge it. So they're still blowing up at me, these two players. And I just went, shut the And because the mic was so close to
the ref picked up all of it.
Picked up all of it, and it picked up Jack blowing up too. Oh, good times.
Oh, wow.
I don't know whether that'd be the
surely there's a bigger one. Oh god, there would be something.
That'll be up there just in terms of caught on camera.
Yeah.
But I remember in 2021. He wouldn't mind me saying this actually. Do you remember when we played Penrith?
Which one?
In the semi?
Yeah.
Did you come up for that?
Yeah, of course.
We played Penrith in the semi, and Taffy put a grubber in, and he put a 40-20 in, right? It was about 10 metres from the try line, and he put a 40-20 in, gave him a 7-tackle set. And it was on the right side of the field. So he ran to chase the kick, and he ran out to get himself back to fullback because he didn't want to come anywhere near the middle of the park because he knew that I was on the left. And I was going, Taffy, like just spraying him, and he's turning around like ignoring me.
He's
Not
like,
even listening.
he's like, I know. He's
he
just jogging back.
And he turns around and goes, just fucking defend it. I said,
that
yeah,
you are.
that'll be right. Go back to fullback and we've got to defend it all.
I've done something like that before. It was last tackle. They got shifted to me, and I think it was Uate's come up, and I've tried putting a kick in behind. Anyway, it's gone onto the M4, and then everyone was spraying me. I'm like, shut up, F up, just finish tackles, make your tackles. I'm telling this to the middles. Oh my, the audacity. Okay. Do you have a question or not? Or are we going to move along?
No, move along. You looked after me there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Just to wrap it up, favorite quote. Do you have one?
I just really enjoy like a never give up type of not a quote in particular, just like a never give up like mentality, like a not a quote that I live by, but just, you know, I think my story aligns with that never give up type mentality, and just having a crack. Like, I don't know, don't really live by quotes, but yeah, I just live by that mentality of just never giving up and
constantly back yourself, especially when no one else does.
have a crack.
Well, Codes, pleasure having you here, brother. It's
taken a long while.
It has, and guess what? And now I've got to drive 30 minutes to drop you off. So who knows what we're going to talk about? Thanks a lot, brother.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah.